Scorpio, something rare and radiant is approaching your life, and it begins tomorrow. Not just one breakthrough, but two waves of divine energy are aligning in your favor, one that touches your physical world, and one that awakens the deep chambers of your soul. This is what we call double luck, two portals of opportunity opening simultaneously, and your soul is standing at the threshold. If you found this video today, you didn't stumble upon it by chance. There's a sacred alignment happening, and your spirit recognized it even before your mind could explain it. You were guided here, not to simply receive information, but to activate remembrance. A part of you already knows this. Something is shifting. Quietly. Powerfully. Personally. Welcome to Miracle of the Sign, a space where astrology is more than prediction, it's prayer in motion. Where tarot becomes a mirror to the soul, and the law of attraction is fused with sacred wisdom and everyday awakening. Here, we don't just talk about stars. We talk to them. We listen for their messages, and today, they are speaking to you, Scorpio. Tomorrow holds a window unlike any other. Astrologically, there is a rare alignment between Jupiter and Mars that intensifies drive, opens hidden doors, and reactivates purpose. For Scorpio, this planetary dance touches your soul path, your axis of transformation and destiny. But beyond the sky, there's something stirring within. A longing. A readiness. A gentle voice inside saying, yes. I'm ready to receive. Not just blessings, but clarity. Not just change, but divine confirmation that all the silent effort, all the nights of questioning, all the healing you did allenite was never in vain. You've carried more than you've shown. You've walked with resilience while your heart asked for rest. And now, heaven is reaching back. This isn't reward. It's resonance. The spiritual ledger is balancing. Tomorrow marks a moment when physical and emotional breakthroughs can converge, and they will, if your heart remains open. Sometimes, all we need is a word. A sign. A whisper of reassurance that we're not lost, that our prayers weren't unheard. Let this message be that whisper. Let it reach you in the quiet spaces where logic cannot go. For it's there in the stillness that the soul hears what the world drowns out. And Scorpio, if your soul is leaning in right now, if your chest feels warmer, or your intuition sharper, or even if you just feel a little less alien, it's the sign. That's the confirmation. That's the sacred yes you've been waiting for. If anything you've heard in these first moments resonates with you, I encourage you to take a breath and comment below with the words, I welcome double blessings into my life. This isn't just a comment, it's a declaration. A personal alignment with what's already on its way to you. I want to thank you truly for your presence here. Every like, every message you share, every soul that subscribes to this space adds light to the collective field. Your support fuels this channel and allows these transformative messages to reach those who need them most. So stay with me, Scorpio. Not because something extraordinary is unfolding, but because you are. Let's begin. Scorpio, you've been standing at the edge of change for quite some time, maybe quietly, maybe with trembling hands, maybe with a strength you didn't even know you had. And now, as the cosmic currents shift, something within you recognizes the invitation. This isn't just about tomorrow's calendar or the alignment of planets overhead. This is about readiness. This is about arrival. It's about the door that was always there but is finally opening because you're finally able to walk through it. Astrologically, we see Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, and divine abundance, aligning with Mars, your ancient ruler. This isn't a soft, passive alignment. It's a call to action, a cosmic surge that wraps both opportunity and momentum into one blazing frequency. Mars gives it urgency, but Jupiter gives it depth. That means what's coming toward you isn't fleeting, it's anchored, grounded, tangible. It's the kind of breakthrough you can build on, not just dream about. And here enters the Ace of Pentacles, a card that has always symbolized divine approval in physical form. In a reading, this card doesn't whisper, it announces. It reveals that something real is being placed into your hands. This could be a job offer, a property deal, a financial blessing, a partnership that opens doors. But more than the thing itself, it's what it represents, that the universe has seen your efforts, your integrity, your patience, and is now responding in kind. This is reciprocity at the soul level. You've done your part. Even if no one else knew the weight you carried, even if you continued planting seeds when nothing seemed to bloom, you persisted. And now, with this divine alignment, the energy is shifting from intention to manifestation. That's the heart of the law of attraction, not just thinking about what you want, but embodying the frequency of already having it. Scorpio, your vibration is finally matching your vision, and that's why this portal is opening now. But here's the thing, abundance doesn't just fall into open hands. It falls into open hearts. And for many of us, that's the harder ask. It's easier to work hard than to believe we're worthy of what we've worked for. It's easier to give than to receive. So this moment invites you to do the more courageous thing, to accept, to receive, to stop bracing for loss and begin preparing for stability, to soften your grip on control and open your palm to grace. And grace, in its purest form, is not earned, it's received. Scripture reminds us that, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And this is your season of harvest. But not the kind of harvest you force. The kind that arrives because you trusted the process. Because you didn't give up when you had every reason to. Because somewhere deep within you, even in moments of isolation, you still whispered, "There's more for me than this." Now the more is arriving. It won't come with fireworks, but with alignment. A perfectly timed email. A conversation that opens a door. A shift in clarity so potent it clears away years of doubt. These are the ways the universe speaks directly, but never loudly. And the only thing you need to do now is make space. Clear the clutter. Reclaim the inner room where faith once lived. And prepare, not with fear, but with sacred expectancy. You are not starting from scratch, you're stepping into something that's been waiting for you. And if you feel it, even slightly, I invite you to speak it aloud or type it in the comments below. I am ready to open my heart and receive. These aren't just words. They're an energetic agreement. They're a signal to the universe that your spirit is aligned with your next chapter. And that chapter begins here. Let's keep going. Scorpio, after standing before the portal of change, the question is no longer whether the universe is willing to give. It's whether you're truly ready to receive not only the external blessings that appear in the form of opportunity or success, but the deeper ones that arrive quietly, disguised as healing. If the previous energy invited you to stretch your hands toward abundance, this next chapter asks something more tender, more sacred, to open your heart and take it back from the places you left it. In astrology, Scorpio is the sign of transformation, deep, cyclical, and often invisible to the outside world. You don't change in surface ways. You dissolve and re-emerge. And now, under this cosmic momentum, that re-emergence is being fueled by something extraordinary, the presence of the Ace of Cups, not once, but twice. This isn't coincidence, it's a mirror, reflecting a new emotional beginning, a reset of the heart's landscape. In tarot, the Ace of Cups is the purest expression of love, not just romantic, but divine, internal, self-sourced. And when it appears twice, it signals not only that emotional healing is possible, but that it's already in progress, even if you don't consciously feel it yet. What makes this phase so important is that many Scorpios, perhaps including you, have armored the heart for protection. Not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. After betrayal, disappointment, abandonment, we often become guardians of our own vulnerability. But what happens when healing invites us to put the sword down? What happens when love no longer requires defense? This is the turning point. Emotional rebirth doesn't always look like falling in love with someone else. It begins when you look in the mirror and finally feel warmth where there used to be critique. When you no longer ask yourself, "What's wrong with me?" but instead whisper, "I was always enough." This is where confidence is born, not from ego, but from restoration. And perhaps the most radical thing you can do right now is to love again, to love softly, slowly, starting with the person you've often overlooked, yourself. Emotional rebirth isn't a fireworks show. It's the quiet return of trust. It's the dissolving of fear. It's the ability to feel without being flooded by the past. It's the moment when someone looks at you with kindness, and instead of flinching, you accept it. Not because they see your worth, but because you do. Emotionally, this cycle may also bring you face to face with what's been unresolved, intimacy wounds, the fear of being seen, the lingering echoes of past lovers or relationships that taught you to equate love with pain. But now, you are being given the chance to rewrite that narrative. You're being asked to separate love from fear, to allow connection without sacrificing your boundaries, to allow softness without losing your strength. Psychologically, this is also a time for healing attachment wounds. If you've struggled with emotional avoidance, hyperindependence, or the fear of emotional dependence, this is the window to explore those patterns and release them gently. It is okay to need. It is okay to want. And it is not weakness to ask for closeness. Even without speaking directly of spirituality, there is deep truth in the ancient wisdom that perfect love casts out fear. Love is not supposed to hurt. Love is not supposed to confuse. Love is not supposed to diminish you. Real love, especially the love you give yourself, brings clarity, ease, and lightness. When it comes, you don't have to chase it. It stays. If your heart feels like it's stirring, if you sense even the smallest longing to feel whole again, I invite you to declare that intention aloud or write it in the comments below. Say it with belief, even if your voice shakes. I allow my heart to be loved. That one sentence is not weakness. It is reclamation. It is a commitment to healing. It is the boldest thing a Scorpio can do, to love, fully, even after everything. Let this be your re-entry into the world of feeling. Let this be the moment your heart returns home. not to someone else but to you. There is a sacred rhythm in the universe that never forgets what has been given with pure intention. And Scorpio, as we move deeper into this energy, that rhythm is now echoing back to you in the form of balance, of divine recalibration. After the emotional rebirth initiated in your previous phase, the soft but radical act of allowing your heart to feel again this moment brings something more structured, more solid. It is the quiet justice that arrives after a long silence, not with noise or drama, but with precision and grace. The presence of the Justice card alongside the Six of Pentacles is not only symbolic, it is deeply affirming. Justice speaks of energetic alignment, of cause meeting effect, of actions rippling back through time and space to find their source. The Six of Pentacles, on the other hand, speaks of generosity, of giving and receiving, but it does so with a specific emphasis on timing. You may have given freely in the past, without reward, without recognition, even without being fully seen. But energy, especially when rooted in love, does not dissolve. It circles. It stores. And then it returns. Astrologically, this return is amplified now by Saturn's position in your chart. Saturn is often misunderstood as restrictive or heavy, but what it truly represents is accountability and karmic structure. It holds the spiritual ledger, the invisible record of every sacrifice, every boundary respected, every step taken in integrity when shortcuts would have been easier. And when Saturn is active, as it is for you now, it means the entries in that ledger are being revisited not for punishment, but for reward. This is karmic compensation, and it's unfolding whether you see it yet or not. Think back to moments when you chose patience over reaction, kindness over pride, effort over escape. Those moments weren't wasted. They were recorded by life itself. And now, the energy that once seemed stagnant begins to move again. Perhaps a person who once overlooked you suddenly returns with new awareness. Perhaps a job opportunity you lost in the past is offered again, this time with better terms. Perhaps something as subtle as a renewed sense of confidence shows up in you, and with it, new outcomes in your relationships, your work, your self-worth. These are not coincidences. They are receipts being cashed. And you earned every one of them. But this chapter isn't only about external return, it's also about internal permission. The truth is, many Scorpios give without expecting much back. Not because you feel unworthy, but because you learn to survive without help. You learn to overfunction. To be the anchor for others while denying your own need to be held. And sometimes, when blessings finally come, the hardest thing is to allow yourself to receive them without guilt, without resistance, without deflection. This is where you pause and ask, am I truly open to the return of what I've poured out? Am I ready to say yes to a life that gives back as much as I give to it? Even outside of faith language, there is profound healing in the concept that nothing good is ever forgotten. That your sacrifices, your consistent heart, your unspoken efforts have all been seen, perhaps not by people, but by the sacred intelligence that governs balance itself. And now, that balance tilts in your favor. So as you notice small and large blessings starting to show up, don't question whether you deserve them. Instead, recognize them for what they are, the return of energy you sent out when it was hardest to give. And if that touches a part of you that's still unsure, I invite you to speak it into being. Write it in the comments. Let it echo outward, I am worthy of the return of all good things. That declaration alone opens the door wider. The universe is just. Life is not always fair, but energy is. What you've given is on its way back, not as a transaction, but as recognition. You are being remembered by the very laws of alignment you honored when no one was watching. Now, it's time for you to receive. When everything outside feels loud, chaotic, or uncertain, your soul longs for something much quieter, something steady, something that doesn't shift with opinion or algorithm. And here, Scorpio, is where the sacred pause begins. You've journeyed through emotion, you've witnessed the return of the good you've given, and now life whispers to you not to act, but to listen. Not to do more, but to be still. This part of your spiritual unfolding is beautifully captured by the Temperance card and the Hermit. Temperance invites you into energetic harmony, not through external balance, but through inner moderation. It asks you to step away from extremes, from overgiving or overthinking, and simply stand in the center of your being. Meanwhile, the Hermit lights the lantern of self-reflection. He walks not to escape the world, but to remember who he is within it. Together, these archetypes form a powerful message. There is wisdom available to you right now, but only if you slow down long enough to receive it. In the realm of real life, that sacred stillness might look like turning off your notifications for a day, or breathing deeply for 3 uninterrupted minutes before the world wakes up, or writing your thoughts in a journal that no one else will read, not to impress, but to understand. In a world that celebrates hustle, stopping becomes a rebellious act of self-respect. You don't need to earn your worth through exhaustion. You simply need to reconnect to the voice that has always been inside you, the one that is not shaken by likes or losses, but anchored in truth. This isn't about isolating yourself or cutting off the world forever. It's about taking one intentional step back to recalibrate, to breathe, to nourish your nervous system and your inner knowing. Even your physical body is asking for it now. When the spiritual is cluttered, the body feels it too. A gentle meal, steamed vegetables, chamomile tea, warm water in the morning may seem small, but it creates space for clarity. It's not about restriction, it's about lightness, about creating an environment where you can hear what your soul is trying to say. And perhaps what it's saying is this: peace is not something you chase. It's something you allow. It's already seated within you, but it can only bloom in stillness. There's a deeper message here, too, especially for those who carry worry, fear, or fatigue silently. You don't have to figure it all out today. You don't have to force clarity or make big decisions. Maybe your only job today is to stop running, sit with yourself, and gently whisper, "I'm still here. And I trust the process." In Jeremiah 29 verse 11, we're reminded, "For I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." This isn't a passive promise, it's a call to align with a higher rhythm, one that doesn't rush but unfolds perfectly when you trust it. You don't need all the answers now. You just need to say yes to stillness. Yes to peace. Yes to listening. If this message resonates, take a moment. Ask yourself honestly, have I made enough space to hear what I truly need? And if your heart says yes, I invite you to write it in the comments. Declare it. Anchor it. Let this be the beginning of your sacred pause. Say, I stop to hear what is truly alive in me. Because often, the most miraculous shifts come not when you speak louder but when you become quiet enough to hear the divine whisper inside. When you've finally grown quiet enough to hear your own soul as you did in the stillness of the previous phase, what often comes next is not just peace, but clarity. A knowing. A gentle inner rising that tells you, it's time to move. But not move in haste. Not move in fear. Move in truth. This is the space you've now entered, Scorpio. A sacred threshold where your past has taught you enough, your inner compass is realigned, and your future, while still unwritten, calls to you with purpose. The Seven of Swords appears as a cautionary whisper. It doesn't necessarily warn of external enemies, it speaks of old versions of yourself that once survived by hiding, avoiding, or shrinking. These patterns may return disguised as people or opportunities that test your self-worth. Sometimes, the very people who once ignored or betrayed your light may return drawn to your rising, but not always for the right reasons. That's why this card shows up now, not to scare you, but to empower you to choose differently. You don't owe your future to people from your past who couldn't see your value. That's where the Chariot charges in. It doesn't wait for others to approve of its direction. It moves with intention, pulled by willpower and faith, not external validation. You've earned this moment of decisive movement not through perfection, but through persistence. Through healing. Through the quiet choices you've made behind closed doors. And now, the road is open. The Two of Wands confirms this, holding the world in one hand, and the future in the other. You are no longer trapped between who you were and who you're becoming. You get to choose, consciously and boldly. Energetically, this moment aligns with a master frequency 22. In numerology, 22 is the builder. It's the number that says, you have the vision, and now you have the structure. If you've been waiting for the perfect sign to begin reshaping your life, this is it. The code 22 doesn't bring magic by chance, it activates miracles through decision. Through embodiment. Through choosing your own soul again and again, even when it feels unfamiliar or risky. Especially then. Colors are portals, too. Deep indigo, like the color of the night sky, calms the mind that overthinks. It eases the panic that rises when we begin to change. Teal green, on the other hand, speaks to your heart chakra. It reminds you to breathe, to trust your intuition, to know that not all wisdom comes through logic. When you wear or visualize these colors now, you don't just dress yourself, you align yourself with the frequency of trust and empowerment. And perhaps this is the gentlest but most powerful truth of all: you don't have to know every step to choose the path. Choosing your direction is enough. Because when your choice is aligned with your soul, the universe reorganizes around your faith. This isn't about being fearless, it's about letting your faith be bigger than your fear. So here is your question, Scorpio, asked not to rush you, but to awaken something ancient within you. Are you ready to walk the road that only your soul was designed to walk? And if you are, I invite you to anchor it in the comments below. Say it with intention. Write, I trust my soul to lead the way. Because this isn't just another fork in the road. This is your liberation point. And you, beloved, were born to choose freedom. Scorpio, as we reach this final moment together, I want to gently remind you, nothing you've heard today is coincidence. Every message, every card, every nudge of the spirit was aligned for your ears, your heart, and your soul right now. The doubled fortune, the return of your inner fire, the choice to walk your own path, all of it is a response to the person you've already been. You see, blessings don't just drop out of nowhere. They are often the delayed arrival of your silent sacrifices, your private tears, your daily choices to remain kind even when the world didn't see you. This is the law of sacred return. And if it feels like things are finally beginning to turn in your favor, it's because they are. Not because you fought for recognition, but because you kept choosing love, integrity, and growth when no one was watching. That is what the heavens reward. You may still wonder, but am I truly ready? The truth is, readiness isn't always loud or confident. Sometimes it's a quiet yes whispered through fear. Sometimes it's taking one step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. And sometimes, it's simply choosing not to go backward even if forward still feels uncertain. So I ask you now, what will you choose from this moment on? Will you keep shrinking to fit back into places you've already outgrown? Or will you trust the divine rhythm that's been guiding you all along? Will you listen to your intuition, soft, sacred, and wiser the noise of fear that was never yours to carry? The miracles coming to you are not random, they are soul reactions. They are heaven's answer to your quiet faithfulness. They are the culmination of spiritual seeds you planted long ago, finally rising to the surface. That's why the message is clear: God has not forgotten you. The universe has not overlooked your effort. And your soul has never stopped calling you forward. You were chosen not because you had to prove yourself, but because you are finally aligned with what was meant for you all along. If these words stirred something in you, anchor it now. Let the energy settle into your spirit. Type in the comments, I'm ready to receive double blessings. I choose light. I choose myself. Let the universe witness your declaration. If your heart feels even the smallest breath of healing, let that be a sign, like this video as a gentle acknowledgement of your inner work. Subscribe to Miracle of the Sign to stay connected to these sacred reminders, because even the strongest souls need to be reminded that they are never walking alone. And if you know someone who's been struggling in silence, share this video with them. You might just be the light they've been praying for. Scorpio, you don't need to force anything. Just stay open. Stay honest. And keep walking in the direction of your soul's yes. The rest is already on its way.